Hey, Alexandra, come here. Listen, have you seen Cindy?
Cinderella. Looks like someone has a crush.
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Alonzo, our guest Tim Grierson from Screen International. Christy is here talking about Tangerine, the latest film from Sean Baker, one of my favorite filmmakers working right now.
Interesting.
He did Starlet and Takeout and Prince of Broadway, and this is his latest, set in Los Angeles. What's it about?
So this takes place at a very, very specific intersection, the corner of Santa Monica and Highland in Hollywood, which has got a very sketchy donut time on the corner, which is the home base for a couple of transgender prostitutes named Cindy, S-I-N-D-E-E, and Alexandra. And it's about what happens when Cindy gets out of prison after 28 days and she goes looking for her pimp, who's also her boyfriend, who has been screwing around on her. The cool thing with this is it's all shot on an iPhone. Take a look.
White.
Who is she? Her name starts with a D.
Danny.
Desiree.
Destiny?
You're making me lose my game.
She's some white fish.
That's her. She know me with real fish.
Yeah, bitch, like a real fish. Girl, like vagina and everything. Girl, calm the fuck down. It's not that serious. I will go with you under one condition. You must promise me that there's not going to be any drama.
I promise.
Look at me in my eyes and promise.
I promise no drama, Alexandra.
Whoa! What the fuck?
Oh boy.
Help me, officer!
You didn't have to Chris Brown the bitch. What did you do to her?
Why does he owe you money?
We made a business transaction.
You're not even hard yet.
Fucking hard. That's hard.
Chester.
Since who's your man? Who's hot piece for you?
Cindy, what do you see in him? Talk to me.
We've been out of jail for 24 hours. She started causing drama.
She calling the police. The cops are coming. Come on, girl.
Out here, it is all about our hustle. And that's it.
So this is very realistic. Not that I know a whole lot about the life of transgender prostitutes, but that donut time was right on the way to my kid's school. So the last 3 years of my life, I've been driving past it every single day. And the LGBT center around the corner is right nearby. And that is where Sean Baker, I think, met a lot of these people who were the inspiration for this movie. And so I think in the vibe, it feels very true to life.
Yeah, there's a real immediacy to it. It's one of those great kind of unfolds in one day movies that has that forward motion that feels like it's all sort of very contained and this happens and this happens and this happens. You know, there are surprises along the way. What I love about Baker is that he makes these movies with these really interesting subcultures. I mean, Prince of Broadway was about an undocumented African immigrant selling designer knockoffs on the streets of New York. Takeout was about a Chinese food delivery guy who's trying to raise money to pay off some loan sharks. Starlet was about the unlikely friendship between an old lady and a woman who turns out to be a porn actress. And so, you know, he kind of takes us into the world of the sex workers of Santa Monica Boulevard, and it never feels sort of condescending or that kind of detached or, you know, weirdly anthropological. It felt very spontaneous and natural.
And very affectionate. I think quite the opposite of being judgy. Like, there's clearly a lot of warmth for these women and their energy and their banter. Like, I think they come up with the story and they're clearly like, the script feels really real in their bodies, in their mouths. Like,
and Cindy's kind of allowed to be a jerk too. So, like, this is a movie where like all the characters are really idealized. Like, she's kind of awful and
but hilarious.
Yeah, she's hilarious, but like she treats even Alexander, who's her best friend, like, you know, and Alexander is like sort of just kind of picking up after her, and every time after Cindy goes in and like yells at somebody or punches them, she's like, "Oh, here, come to my show," and she's giving them flyers for her show. And Cindy cannot be bothered with Alexandra's show or like anybody else but her own
She's on
problems.
a rampage.
Yeah, and I think for me, like you were saying before about how Sean Baker does, like, the movie is very matter of fact.
Yeah.
I love how it just sort of does a deep dive into that world, and like you were saying before about being affectionate but also not condescending. I just love that the movie seems to follow the lead of its two main characters. Like you were saying, the thing I also love about Cindy is it does not make me like her. It doesn't try to pretend that she's like
a paragon.
Like the movie is not about, you know, transgender people are people too. Like, basically they make them like people too by making them as flawed and as obnoxious as anybody else. And the movie kind of just follows their lead. Like every character that you meet along the way, there's this fascinating Armenian taxi cab driver who shows up in the movie. We don't know necessarily what he's there for, but he kind of weaves into the film as well. We finally meet the pimp / boyfriend character. And I was actually thinking also about like films like, say, Kids from about 20 years ago that really just sort of dive into a world. This movie is a lot less alarmist than Kids was. It is not as judgy as Kids was. But it does, I think with both those movies, kind of say, look at the world. This is the way it operates. In almost like in an Altman kind of way, it doesn't explain the rules. It just sort of throws you in. It throws you in and says, trust us, these characters are amazing. You'll figure it out. Okay, as you go along, you sort of discover. And also, Christy was mentioning about being on an iPhone. I did not see it at Sundance where it premiered, but that was the big conversation of it. Like, oh, it's shot on an iPhone, it's shot on an iPhone, which if you haven't seen the movie sounds like just a terrible gimmick. Yeah. And I have to say, for me, I didn't, maybe 10 minutes into it, I kind of forgot.
Yeah, it's true. It's not like watching a movie that was shot on a Pixel Vision camera or something. After a while, it just becomes, it has a look to it, and you kind of go with it.
And I think it actually works really well in terms of the way it captures Los Angeles.
Yeah, the immediacy.
Like you were saying, like I know that stretch of Hollywood really, really well. I used to drive by it every day, and that's sort of like sun splashed, kind of really kind of dry heat of Los Angeles kind of comes through in terms of the way it's shot.
Deep oranges come through as the sun is going down.
You can feel the heat coming out of the asphalt, you know. And it's set on Christmas Eve, so of course that's right in my bailiwick.
A favorite thing. Also, another favorite thing of yours, this is geographically accurate.
Yes.
How many LA movies do we see where they're on the wrong freeway? Okay, so it begins at Santa Monica and Highland. Kiki Rodriguez is the actress's name who plays Cindy, and Maya Taylor is Alexandra. So they have to go to Vermont. They walk east on Santa Monica, and then she has to go back towards Schrader. So she gets on the red line at Santa Monica and Vermont and goes back up to Hollywood and Highland. And then later on, they have to go westbound again.
Right,
they're on the correct bus. They decide, okay, we're not going to stop at downtown. We're going to go to Hamburger Mary's
because that's where the showcase. Yeah.
So they're still westbound. They go past Highland. They get off at Sweetser. They get off at the right bus stop. I was so happy. I was thinking about you the whole time. I'm like, accurate LA.
No, I was noticing it. I appreciate it when they do it right, and they totally got it right.
It's not that hard to do it right.
And Starlet actually, if you haven't seen Starlet, the performances are great, and they totally understand the valley geography too. So.
Yeah, so it's funny, it's surprising. The last shot is really poignant.
It's real incredibly moving.
I'm not going to say what happens, but after a whirlwind of 80 minutes, it takes a breath at the end, and there's just a really beautiful, lovely moment at the end, surprisingly, given what we've seen, because it's pretty raunchy a lot of the time.
And in a movie, and in a period where we're having this real conversation about trans representation in the media, these are trans characters who are played by trans actresses.
Yes. Yeah, and I read an article, our great friend Amy Nicholson had lunch with these ladies, and I guess they're having a really hard time finding actual work now.
Yes.
Maya Taylor went on hundreds of job applications and finally found a job and is having a hard time. So these ladies need work. So go hire them because they are hilarious. If they want to act, they should.
Absolutely.
Because they have a tremendous charisma.
Such presence in this movie, yeah.
So what are your numbers then, friends?
I give it a 9.
Okay. You said 8.5. Do you want to change that?
I'm going to say 9, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
You're reminding me all the things that I love about this movie. Yeah,
I will also say 9 because it makes math easier for me. So our number is a 9. So I don't know where it's available right now. It's coming out this Friday. Is it on VOD?
It's Magnolia, so it might be, but
right, because they're good about that. But go find it. It's really surprising and really different. So.
Definitely.
Bye.